In the previous video, we see Aaliyah started taking care of Caleb until Caleb will get fully healed. Aaliyah loves him like his own little brother, and Caleb also loves to stay with Aaliyah. Throughout the time, Aaliyah also thinks about why his big brother is not searching for his brother. On the other hand, Cedric was stressed about where his brother would be, and he is wondering where Caleb is. Then, accidentally, a warning letter arrives from the Imperial family. Someone requests Cedric to stop the gravity magic. Cedric, who is the crown prince of Indigentia, listens as a person in front of him tells him that the castle gate is frozen, and the vassals cannot go outside now. That person is the chief advisor of the Indigentia Grand Duchy, namely Edwin Polinoa. He says to Cedric that there are so many complaints, and if it goes on, the damage is enough to affect the farmland on the outskirts of the capital. Edwin is worried about the destruction, but Cedric replies that he is controlling everything on his own. Then Cedric says to Edwin that he is clear about his decision, and if Edwin wants to stop this blizzard, then he has to find the Archduke. Cedric is tense because a week has passed since the Archduke went missing. Cedric feels it's weird because he doesn't even know if the Archduke is dead or alive. The vassals are only concerned about the cold weather. Edwin is speechless. Cedric slaps his hands on the table and tells Edwin to inform everyone. He requests to bring Caleb as soon as possible, and he doesn't care about the vassals, whether they freeze to death or not. Edwin agrees with the same. Cedric thinks that the Archduke is missing, and they are saying it's just because of the cold. He is still confused about what is going on. He is stressed because he doesn't even know where Caleb is and what he is doing right now. No traces of Caleb were found, and Cedric is so stressed, continuously thinking where the hell Caleb is. In the next scene, Aaliyah tells Caleb that now he is washed up and asks him to sit down. She tells him to put bandages on his wounds before going to bed. Caleb feels okay because he had changed it last time only, but Aaliyah tells him to change it again. Otherwise, the wound might get worse. Caleb puts bandages on the wound and shows his hands to Aaliyah. She sees that the wound is healing properly without any problems, and he thinks that the wound will heal completely in just a few days. Caleb feels sad and broken, but Aaliyah doesn't mean that Caleb will go back to the Archduke quickly. She resembles that she is happy because this serious wound is healing properly, and Aaliyah scolds him to go to sleep, and Aaliyah also feels sad by thinking all those things. When they both were sleeping, Caleb is thinking when his hands get healed, he will be able to use magic, and due to this, he has to return to the castle. And this is but obvious. Cedric was thinking about why Caleb is doing all this. Caleb replies that becoming an Archduke proves that he is loyal to his royal family, and that he can easily enter the Sanctuary of Knowledge, even if Cedric gives up the right to inherit the title of Grand Archduke. Then Cedric tells him that he already told him that he won't become an Archduke. Cedric knows that Caleb is the only one who will lead the Indigentia family. That's the reason Cedric is refusing. But Caleb knows that this thing takes time for him to become the Grand Duke. Even Caleb is only thinking about how he can break the curse of his brother as soon. Cedric told him not to worry about because he has another plan for the same. Cedric tells him not to worry about the curse and Sanctuary of Knowledge though. He tells him to think about what he wants to do. Caleb thinks, is Cedric getting married? And even he hears that some maids were discussing that Cedric could get married. And they were also thinking, why Cedric is suddenly getting married. Even they also know that Cedric doesn't have any clue about the curse. Now, Caleb knows that the only thing left in the palace is the Sanctuary of Knowledge. But however, Cedric gave up his right to succeed as the Grand Duke, and really, marriage is the only way to pledge the loyalty of the family. Then again Caleb hears something. Finding a spouse will be difficult, and the rumors going around are that the curse is contagious. Caleb is shocked by hearing this. He is thinking, who is spreading all these ridiculous rumors? He is not sure if these rumors are true or not. But everyone knows that he is anxious about his work too. Caleb is thinking, is there any lady who wants to marry Cedric? Even Caleb knows that his brother knows about all these rumors, but Caleb is tense that why his brother is not saying all this to him. Caleb started thinking negatively, does Cedric care about him, or does he think that Caleb is not that trustworthy? But Caleb doesn't know anything, but he would feel nice if his brother was more honest with him. Caleb is going to follow what Aaliyah taught him. Caleb thinks if that lady were Aaliyah who is going to marry his brother, then she wouldn't help his brother. If they get married, Cedric will be able to prove his loyalty to the family, and even he is able to enter the Sanctuary of Knowledge too. And even if Cedric finds a way to break the curse and divorce Aaliyah, then Caleb will reveal that he is Aaliyah's supporter. Then they can stay together in the Great Castle. Then Caleb won't feel lonely in the Grand Castle anymore. Then Caleb realizes that what he is really thinking. How can he think such selfish thoughts, even though this is what he is actually alone? With some tears in his eyes, Caleb decides not to cause any trouble to her, and when his hand gets fully healed, he will return alone to the castle to become the Grand Duke. On the next day, Aaliyah asks Caleb what he wants to eat for lunch today, and she is excited to make some delicious food for him. Caleb is depressed, and he answers that he can have whatever. Aaliyah thinks that she is stupid for not noticing that Caleb is still in this state since this morning. Aaliyah knows she can't become weak-hearted. She has to keep in mind that there is nothing she can do. Aaliyah asks him, "I'm thinking of making grilled fish and potato soup for lunch." She asks him to get some lemons from outside. Caleb agrees with the same and he left outside to buy the lemons. Aaliyah notices that Caleb's steps are weak, and she feels like Caleb's mood gets better after breathing in some fresh air. She will go on a walk later with Caleb. Then suddenly, a man with a black outfit comes in front of Caleb, and he moves his hands towards Caleb, saying, "Finally, I found you." Suddenly, Aaliyah hits that man with a pan, throwing it at him, and scolds Caleb to come to her. She says that this man looks suspicious. Is he trying to kidnap Caleb? Then Caleb shouts with a tensed voice, "Hyung." Aaliyah is shocked by hearing this. That man is nothing but his elder brother, Cedric. Caleb asks him if he is okay or not. Aaliyah feels embarrassed that she threw a pan toward Caleb's brother. Now she realizes that the person she hit with a pan is Caleb's brother, Cedric. She says sorry to Caleb because of her mistake. She says that first, she should have checked who it was, and her body moved on its own. Cedric is shocked by hearing this moved. Caleb replies that he understands that Aaliyah was scared, that's why she did this to Cedric. And Caleb says that Cedric will understand once Caleb explains the whole situation. And even Hyung is a strong person, so he will be fine with a small injury like this. Aaliyah is embarrassed and thinks that this person is covering for her so desperately. Caleb says that they have to get some water and a towel first. And even Caleb is murmuring about how Cedric found him so quickly. Aaliyah asks him, "Did you say something?" Caleb says that he'll go and get some water and a towel. Aaliyah thinks that Caleb said something or she heard something wrong. She is thinking, did Cedric wake up? She should have made Caleb stay and gone herself. She's supposed to check whether he is sleeping or not, or if he is sleep-talking. She thinks that it looks uncomfortable. But when she tried to touch him, suddenly Cedric grabs her hands, asking her what she is doing right now. Aaliyah was shocked because Cedric is looking at her with anger. Cedric calls her a pervert and asks her about her motive towards him. Aaliyah is shocked, wondering what he is talking about. Cedric thinks that Aaliyah's motive is to kidnap Caleb, and she is trying to use his magic so this place won't get found. Aaliyah scolds at him and says that he is quite bold. It seems to be a big misunderstanding. She runs towards the door to bring Caleb. Then Cedric replies, "Where do you think you're running off to?" Cedric uses his gravity magic to stop Aaliyah, and suddenly Aaliyah falls down, unable to move. Aaliyah replies that she wasn't trying to escape. Aaliyah says that this atmosphere is not a joke. Caleb enters the room and throws a blanket on Cedric, shouting at him for what he is doing to Aaliyah. And Caleb tells him to undo that magic and apologize to Aaliyah. "Aaliyah is my savior." Cedric is shocked by hearing this, and even Caleb says that when he was getting chased by a wolf, Aaliyah saved him, and even if Aaliyah hadn't helped him out, he would have been eaten already by the wolf. Caleb asks Cedric how could he do this to someone who saved Caleb. Cedric replies that he is already disappointed in Caleb. Aaliyah thinks that Cedric's expression didn't change much, but he is shocked right now. Caleb asks her isn't she okay or not. Then Cedric asks Caleb if she didn't kidnap or threaten him, and if Caleb were able to use magic, then why didn't he come back to the palace right away? If Caleb were able to create a barrier, then teleporting would have been easy. Aaliyah shockingly looks at Cedric and replies that Caleb was using magic. Aaliyah said that yesterday when she checked, the wound was still there. Isn't Caleb unable to use magic since his hand was injured and didn't have his wand? Caleb feels embarrassed, and he knows that's the reason he did this, because he wanted to be with Aaliyah for a bit longer. Aaliyah was stunned by hearing this. Caleb says sorry for what he did with Aaliyah because he tricked her. Caleb says that usually he can't use magic when his hand is injured. It's true. But even though his hand is still injured, still Caleb could use magic. And even he had to go back once he is able to use magic again. He already knows all these things, but he hides all this from Aaliyah, and agreed with the same in front of Aaliyah. Caleb asks her isn't she angry that he lied to her. Then Aaliyah hugs him and says that why would she be angry? He doesn't need to apologize. Caleb cries. He never cried in the original story. Caleb asks her if she feels happy when he is with Aaliyah. She replies that it's fun being with him. Caleb asks her, or she'll be sad when they separate. Aaliyah replies that she will be sad because they had spent so much time together in the past week. But why Caleb keeps asking the obvious? Then he hesitantly asks her if she wants to go back with Caleb to the Grand Duke's palace. And even he asks if Aaliyah can marry his brother. Aaliyah was so shocked by hearing this. In the next scene, Cedric asks Aaliyah if Caleb has fallen asleep. She says, yes. Aaliyah's thoughts race. So much has happened in such a short period of time, which has been so hectic for her. But she needs to get something first. She thinks, should I quickly make something first? Then she looks behind and is stunned to see Cedric taking his shirt off. She thinks Cedric's shirt got wet, but he doesn't usually take his clothes off so easily. Is a noble allowed to do this? Then Cedric asks her for a drink. She gives him the drink. She is stunned by looking at his muscles and body. She thinks Cedric looks better than the guys who are preparing for the national team. But she needs to calm down. Cedric calls her and apologizes for his behavior just now. But Aaliyah is the only one who threw the pan at him. But that's because she was trying to protect Caleb. Aaliyah tells him to sit down and put the cloth on. She is thinking, since Cedric didn't appear a lot in the story, but she is always curious about his personality. She thinks that Cedric is a kind person under that sharp and cold appearance. Now Aaliyah starts thinking about the thing which Caleb asked her about her marriage with Cedric. She asks Cedric, why do you think Caleb suddenly brought up the marriage? Cedric replies it would be because of his curse. Aaliyah thinks, the fairy's curse. Are they connected? Caleb seems to think that the answer to the curse is in the Century of Knowledge. Aaliyah asks Cedric if he has to become the head of the family in order to have access to the Century of Knowledge, or if he swears loyalty to the royal family during a ceremony. Can't Cedric hold the ceremony right now? Cedric replies, only people who are related by blood to the royal family are allowed to host this ceremony, and he is their son, but he is not related by blood. Aaliyah says, however, he will be able to hold the ceremony once he gets married, which would mean that he would be able to go to the Sanctuary of Knowledge. Cedric says that Caleb must have known this and asks Aaliyah to marry Cedric. Cedric says that he understands that it's very complicated for Aaliyah. It looks like Caleb trusts and relies on Aaliyah a lot. Cedric has seen Caleb like this for the first time. Aaliyah says there are a lot of people who would like to marry Cedric. Cedric says that there is no one because there is a rumor that his curse is contagious. Aaliyah thinks, does it happen in the story? Cedric says that there is no need to worry. That's a rumor spread by someone with bad intentions. But since it's still worrying Aaliyah, he will go back to the Grand Duke Palace as soon as Caleb wakes up. Aaliyah is done hearing this because Caleb wants to be with Aaliyah for a little bit longer. That's why he did all this. Aaliyah angrily says, excuse me, may I ask why you are trying to make Caleb Grand Duke? Cedric asks her, are you worried for Caleb? Then she replied, of course, that's one of the reasons, but she wants to know what he is thinking. Then Cedric starts the whole story, and he says that for some unknown reasons, Caleb was kidnapped while he was just an infant, and his parents looked for 4 years. One day they got some information from an orphanage quite far away from the palace, so of course, he rushed there immediately. However, Caleb was the only one who returned to the palace. Then Aaliyah thinks that she remembers the Indigentia assassination case. While coming back from the orphanage, they were attacked by someone, and everyone expected that Caleb was murdered. But unfortunately, Indigencies was the case. Cedric must have avoided the topic on purpose, which was why his relatives developed a hatred for him, saying why they looked for him and caused a mess when he was here. Cedric says that there seem to be other reasons, but in this situation, Cedric cannot take back the Grand Duke's succession rights which he gave up. Cedric says that Caleb must have become the Grand Duke in order to protect himself. That instead of believing that there will always be people who will help him, it would be much better to make him stronger so that he can protect himself. There are other ways, so it's okay if he doesn't enter the Sanctuary of Knowledge. Then Aaliyah thinks that all the way he expresses it seems to be wrong. She can tell that Cedric wants Caleb to survive. But she says that Caleb won't be able to leave the way you want him to. She shouldn't have to listen to him. She thinks to herself that why she keeps doing this, there is nothing she can do even if she listens to him. She thinks that even if Cedric and she were to get married right now and were to have access to the Century of Knowledge, there is no way to break the curse. There is only one way left, which is to go find the fairy who put the curse on Cedric. Aaliyah thinks, how did she not think of this sooner? She has read the book, so she knows what happened next. Not long after Caleb becomes the Grand Duke, the imperial family ends up capturing the fairy who was summoned in order to kidnap the female lead. So what would happen if we capture that fairy before the imperial family and break Cedric's curse? No, we don't know how we ended up dying, so it will be too late if we wait for that. We must move faster than the imperial family, and in order to do that, they must be able to recognize the fairy. And she definitely saw its face and name at the end of the book. All she needs to do is remember. Then suddenly, Cedric asks Aaliyah what's happening. Then she said, Cedric, I found another way to break the curse. Cedric is shocked. What is the other way? Then she says, if we stick to this plan, you won't need to get married, and the story won't go the way it's supposed to. So the other way, she was trying to say that, but she was maintaining some suspense. When she tried to tell the plan to set it, suddenly she falls down and she forgets everything. Then Cedric asks her, why did you suddenly fall down? And he was continuously asking Aaliyah what happened. Can you hear me? But Aaliyah was shocked. She was thinking, how can she forget all this? Did she forget because it was only said once in the novel or something else? Silver hair that drapes on the pinkest tent as it goes down inside a rare pink gem. No way. The fairy who caused Cedric's curse is Aaliyah only. Here our video ends. Thank you for watching. Please give a like and subscribe to your channels.